No, I choose people who don't want to be written about on the
Right.
whole, whose lives are shrouded in mystery and they want to hide their secrets. And I just love digging away to find out what they did. Came along into the scene. I just thought this is fascinating. How is this going to play out? To tell the truth, I spoke to very few friends of Meghan because she put a fatwa on anyone talking to me who she could. So I sent off dozens and dozens of emails to her friends, and most of them did.
Tom Bauer just dropped some seriously wild stuff about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. And listen, when a royal biographer who spent years digging into the royal family starts talking, you know things are about to get interesting. We're talking business moves, burned bridges, and stories that'll make you see the whole Sussex situation differently. One of these revelations is so jaw-dropping, you're going to need a minute to process it. So, buckle up because we're diving into 7 bombshells that Bauer just shared. And trust me, you won't see some of these coming. Before we dive in, smash that like button and subscribe with notifications on because what's coming is wild. We're talking baby names turned into business deals, fake childhood stories, and a magazine editor who said, never again. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Let's get into it. All right, let's kick things off with something that happened recently. Meghan made an appearance at a charity event thrown by Kevin Costner. Now, on the surface, that seems like a normal celebrity move. A-listers show up at charity galas all the time. Except here's the twist. The year before that same event was happening and Meghan was nowhere to be found. She chose not to go, skipped it entirely. So what changed between year 1 and year 2? According to Bauer, the first time around she was promoting her Netflix series. She was in full launch mode, trying to make that project work. And she had 2 specific concerns about. First, she didn't want to be seen with Harry. She wanted to avoid being photographed alongside her own husband at this charity gathering. Second, showing up at this particular event felt like it would make her appear cheap, so she passed on it completely. But now, a year later, there she is walking into that same event she previously skipped. Bauer calls it a desperate grab for relevance. It's someone trying to stay Isabel when the circumstances have shifted. And if you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, there's something larger happening here. The big names in Hollywood aren't exactly lining up to work with her anymore. According to Bauer, Hollywood's A-list is backing away. Major celebrities and power players are keeping their distance. And the reason, they don't want any tension with the royal family. Nobody wants to create problems with the royals by being closely associated with Meghan and Harry. So where does that leave Meghan? According to Bauer, she's slowly being shut out of elite Hollywood circles. She's finding herself on the outside when it comes to the rooms she used to have access to. The connections that used to be there aren't opening up the same way anymore. But ever since Meghan left Britain and then did the Oprah Winfrey interview, it's been really poisonous. Bauer describes it as Meghan finding herself on the outside of elite circles with the major players in entertainment creating distance, because associating with her means potential complications with the royal family. That charity event appearance. Bauer sees it as part of that pattern. Last year, she skipped it because she didn't want to look cheap while promoting her Netflix series and didn't want to be photographed with Harry. This year, she showed up. The shift tells its own story about where things stand. Now, here's where things start getting really interesting. When Meghan and Harry had their daughter, they named her Lily. And if you're not familiar with royal history, Lily wasn't just a random name they picked out of a baby book. It was Queen Elizabeth's personal childhood nickname. The name her family called her in private. It's deeply personal, carries decades of history and meaning. Except there's another side to this story that Bauer points out, and it's all about timing. See, before Harry even picked up the phone to tell his grandmother what they'd named the baby, something else was already happening. Lawyers were already at work. 2 days before the birth was even announced to the public, the website got registered. The domain name was secured before the family announcement. Before the world knew this baby existed or what her name was, the website was already locked down. So, here's how it actually played out. The baby was born. Then, before any public announcement went out, Harry called the Queen. He told his grandmother about the birth and explained that they decided to name their daughter Lily after her. That's when the Queen found out her deeply personal nickname was now her great-granddaughter's name. But by that point, the website was already registered. According to Bauer, this whole sequence represents pure commercialization. The Queen's childhood nickname, something private and meaningful to her, got turned into a website before she even knew it was being used. And here's what makes Bauer so certain about who is behind this. He points out that Harry doesn't have a commercial mindset. Harry hasn't got a commercial strand in his body and wouldn't understand this kind of thinking. That's how Bauer puts it. Bauer sees this as someone thinking commercially when it came to naming their child. The website registration happened before the conversation with the baby's great-grandmother about using her personal nickname. According to Bauer, this was commercialization inspired by Meghan because Harry simply doesn't think in those terms. For Meghan and Harry, as Bauer describes it, registering a website in their baby's name came before telling that name to the baby's grandmother. When they gave her that name, and the whole registration happened, according to Bauer, this was pure commercialization. He's certain it was inspired by Meghan because Harry hasn't got a commercial strand in his body and wouldn't understand it. So according to Bauer, this whole royal journey wasn't what it appeared to be from the start. He doesn't believe Meghan ever had genuine plans to build a life in Britain. She always intended to get the title, take the connections, and get back to California. That's Bauer's claim about what the real strategy was from the beginning. According to Bauer, the Duchess badge was her golden ticket for American opportunities. That's what she was after. Not the responsibilities, not the tradition, not the commitment to royal life itself, just the title and what it could do for her once she got back to America. California was always the end game in Bauer's view. That's where her career had been before. That's where her entertainment industry connections were. I mean, she's a person who started from nothing, has become a world global star. In that route, the strategy as Bauer sees it was to get the title and take those royal connections back to California where she could actually use them. So once she had what she needed from the arrangement, Harry came along for the ride. That's how Bauer describes the dynamic. Harry tagged along once Meghan got what she wanted from the royal connection. She had the vision for how this could work outside of the royal structure, and he went with it. And here's what makes Bauer's take on this particularly pointed. The Queen welcomed Meghan into the family. According to Bauer, there was genuine warmth there. Real trust being extended from the Queen who had welcomed her with good, but according to Bauer's reading, that trust was being given to someone who was already planning to leave. And at the same time, he's married a woman who's very determined, very ambitious. Bauer describes it as a calculated betrayal, not just of the monarchy itself, but specifically of the Queen who had welcomed Meghan warmly and with genuine trust. According to Bauer, Meghan never intended to stay. She intended to take the title, take the connections, and get back to California. That was always the plan. The time in Britain wasn't about building a life there. It was about getting the Duchess title to use back in America. And according to Bauer, once she got what she wanted, Harry came along for the ride. Here's something Bauer talks about that reveals a lot about how Meghan sees herself. According to him, in Meghan's mind, she is Diana. That's Bauer's claim about Meghan's self-perception. She genuinely believes she holds the same importance in the monarchy as Princess Diana. The 2018 Australia tour is where this really became visible. Meghan wore Diana's jewelry throughout that trip, Diana's Cartier watch, and it didn't stop after Australia. Whether it's Colombia, Nigeria, or any other appearance, Meghan's publicist makes sure to reveal that she's wearing one of Diana's jewelry pieces. Wherever she is, her publicist will reveal that she's wearing one of Diana's pieces of jewelry. It's become a consistent pattern. Bauer calls it a ridiculous fantasy. Object in life was to be Diana. That has always been her passion. That has also been Harry's passion. He says it's fueled by ego and poor judgment. According to him, Meghan and Harry completely misread the public on this. Diana's legacy was built on compassion, dedication, and hard work. Those are qualities Bauer says Meghan completely lacks. But here's where Bauer says Meghan got it completely wrong. Diana didn't just appear and immediately have the devotion of millions. That connection with the public was built over years. People felt committed to Diana's journey because they had spent so much time watching her. According to Bauer, Meghan couldn't understand that Diana had won the public's affection after years of work. That was a real investment. People watched Diana really grow up over time. Diana's connection with people came from years and years of dedication that the public witnessed. According to Beau, Meghan completely misread how Diana's impact was built. Diana's legacy came from years of showing up and committing herself to causes. That's what created the bond people felt with her. But Meghan seems to think she can access that same status just by wearing Diana's jewelry. Bauer argues that Meghan saw the end result of Diana's years of work and thought she could claim some of that for herself through association. You can wear Diana's $300,000 watch at every appearance and make sure your publicist mentions it. But according to Bauer, that doesn't transfer Diana's legacy. Diana's place in people's hearts came from what she did over years, not from the jewelry she wore. Bauer says this belief that she's Diana's equivalent is a ridiculous fantasy fueled by ego and poor judgment, and that Meghan and Harry completely misread the public. Christmas 2017 at Sandringham. This is where things took a turn that would end up having lasting consequences. Harry's longtime friends were there for the shooting weekend, the kind of traditional royal gathering that Harry had been part of his whole life. These weren't new acquaintances or casual buddies. These are guys he'd known for years, his core group. But that weekend, according to Bauer, Meghan clashed with them over jokes they were making. She didn't like what they were saying, found it offensive, and she made that very clear. The friends started calling her the fun police after that, and from that point on, things went downhill fast. Bauer describes this Sandringham weekend as a decisive moment. Someone who was there told him what happened. And according to that account, this was effectively when Meghan told Harry he needed to dump all his friends. Not distance himself a bit, not set some boundaries, dump them entirely. And here's what happened next. The wedding came, and it was this huge global event with all the attention and cameras and celebration. But when it came time for the dinner after the wedding, none of those friends from that shooting weekend got invited. Zero. Not a single one made it to that dinner. According to Bauer, that was the crunch. That was when Meghan separated Harry from his hinterland, from the people who had been in his corner for years before she ever came into the picture. Bauer's source made it clear this was a breaking point. These weren't just random people Harry hung out with occasionally. They were his longtime crew, the people who had been part of his life for years. And now those connections were getting severed. The wedding dinner exclusion made it obvious to everyone involved where things stood. And the result, Harry's living without that support system. Now, Bauer points out that Harry suffers enormously from not having a large number of the friends he had back in London. When you cut off your longtime friend group, you're losing people who know your history, who've been there through different chapters of your life. Those guys were been there through his 20s, through his military dinner. Those friendships were done. According to, and he did. The Sandringham saga was the decisive moment where she effectively told him the shooting weekend were invited to the dinner after the wedding. That was when she separated him from his support network. And now he's dealing with the consequences, living without the large number of friends he used to have in London. Working with British Vogue should have been a major moment for Meghan. But according to Bauer, what should have been a collaboration turned into a disaster, and it all came down to one thing: control. Here's what went down. After the Queen passed away, British Vogue editor Edward and ninful Harry's crew way before Meghan showed up. They'd service through being a royal in the public eye. But after that Christmas weekend and that wedding dinner, those friendships were done. According to Bauer, Meghan pressured Harry to cut them all off, and he did. The Sandringham saga was the decisive moment where she effectively told him to dump his friends. None of those people at his shooting weekend were invited to the dinner after the wedding. That was when she separated him from his support network. And now he's dealing with the consequences, living without the large number of friends he used to have in London. Working with British Vogue should have been a major moment for Meghan. But according to Bauer, what should have been a collaboration turned into a disaster, and it all came down to one thing: control. Here's what went down. After the Queen passed away, British Vogue editor Edward in ninful had a cover already planned out. He'd made his editorial decisions and was moving forward with them, but Meghan tried to interfere. She wanted to control the cover story. The problem, Info didn't want her on the cover, and she apparently didn't take that WEL. So she tried to push her way into controlling what was happening. But it didn't stop at just the cover. She also tried to interfere with the online content. She wanted control over that, too. And Ninful's response was straightforward. He told her she couldn't control it. According to Bauer, that was exactly Meghan's issue. She wanted control. That's what it kept coming back to. That was her whole point. And she wasn't just difficult with Enninel. Journalist Sam Kashner worked closely with Meghan and had some harsh things to say about the experience afterward. One of the people that worked with her closely said that Meghan demanded that the media do what she expects. When things didn't go the way she wanted, Kashner said he felt manipulated and betrayed. He felt played, orchestrated. Those were his exact words about working with her. During her British Vogue guest edit, things got even more tense. Meghan reportedly acted like she was the real editor-in-chief, not a guest contributor, not someone offering input, but like she was actually running the magazine. Right? The actual staff was left silently frustrated. After all of this, Edward and Ninful made his feelings clear, even if he phrased it diplomatically. He said he felt like he'd done it and wouldn't necessarily repeat himself. Basically, once was enough. He'd had his experience working with Meghan, and he wasn't interested in doing it again. There was a huge argument over her wanting the cover and control of the content. And according to Bauer, that meant Ninful was really finished with her. He'd had enough of what Bauer calls her prima donna behavior, and that's why he dumped her. So Meghan wanted the cover, wanted to control the content, and when Ninful said no, there was a massive argument. According to Bauer, Ninful had enough of the demanding attitude and the prima donna behavior. One collaboration was more than sufficient, and he made sure everyone knew he wouldn't be repeating the experience. Here's a story you've probably heard before. Young Meghan sees a soap commercial on TV. The ad has sexist messaging in it. And supposedly, little Meghan writes a letter to Procter & Gamble, the company behind the ad, demanding that they change it. And according to the story, they actually did change the commercial. Tea's been a cornerstone of Meghan's public image for years. The origin story of her activism presented as proof that she's been fighting for causes since childhood. Except according to Bauer, there's a problem with this story. It didn't happen the way it's been told. Bauer went digging into this, and what he found raises questions about the whole narrative. First, he looked into what Meghan's father had to say, and her father said he never sent any letter. According to him, that never happened. But Bauer didn't stop there. Vanity Fair, the magazine, decided to fact-check this story too. They went directly to Procter existed in their records. Companies like Procter & Gamble keep very careful, meticulous files of correspondence. So, Procter & Gamble went through all their files. They searched carefully for any letter from Meghan Markle, and they found absolutely nothing. No letter exists in their records. Which isn't surprising, as Bauer points out, when you consider that her father said he never sent it in the first place. If the letter was never sent, then the company wouldn't have any record of receiving it. According to Bauer, this story about the Procter & Gamble letter was designed to paint Meghan as a lifelong changemaker. The narrative was meant to show activism as something she's been committed to since childhood, but the father confirmed it never happened. Vanity Fair asked Procter & Gamble whether it was true or not, and Procter & Gamble went through all their carefully and meticulously kept files. They found absolutely no letter from Meghan, which according to Bauer isn't surprising because the father said he never sent the letter. Bauer says this is part of Meghan's habit of exaggerating and even fabricating parts of her past to gain sympathy. The Procter & Gamble story was supposed to establish her credentials as someone who's been standing up for important causes from a young age. It was meant to make her look authentic and principled. According to Bauer, these false tales of activism were designed to paint her as a lifelong change maker, but they only highlight how far she's willing to go to build a public image that doesn't truly exist. The childhood letter story has been repeated for years as fact. But when Vanity Fair and Bauer actually investigated it, the story fell apart. The father said it never happened. The company has no record of any letter. According to Bauer, it's a fabricated piece of her past created to build an image of lifelong activism that doesn't match reality. So there you have it. 7 revelations from Tom Bauer about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry that paint a pretty revealing picture. We started with Hollywood backing away, major celebrities keeping their distance, because nobody wants tension with the royal family. Then we saw the leaked domain name getting registered before the Queen even knew her great-granddaughter's name, with Bauer calling it pure commercialization from someone who thinks commercially while Harry doesn't. We heard Bauer's claim that Meghan never intended to stay in Britain, that the whole plan was always about getting the title and taking it back to California. We looked at how Meghan sees herself as Diana's equivalent, constantly wearing Diana's jewelry and having her team make sure everyone knows about it. Even though Diana's connection with the public came from years of work, the Sandringham Christmas, where Meghan clashed with Harry's friends, earned the nickname Fun Police, and then those friends got cut off entirely. None of them even invited to the wedding din. The Vogue blow-up where Meghan tried to control the cover and content, leaving editor Edward Ninful saying once was enough. And finally, that childhood Procter & Gamble letter story that Meghan's father says never happened and the company has no record of despite their meticulous files. According to Bauer, it's a pattern. Calculated business moves, fabricated stories, burned bridges, and a public image built on narratives that don't hold up when you actually investigate them. Which one shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.